Welcome to this WebSphere Message Broker tutorial. In this session we will be showing how to use patterns to connect a back-end SAP system to a mobile application using a WebSphere Message Broker adapter. First, open up Message Broker and close down the welcome screen, which will leave you with a blank workspace. As you can see in the bottom left of the screen, we already have a broker running. This is where we will deploy the application to, and so it's important that you already have this done. From here, let's go into the Patterns Explorer, where we will click through Mobile, Worklight, and onto Resource Handler. The Resource Handler pattern allows you to implement procedures that access an object. These procedures are create, read, update, and delete. The pattern we use has two main functions. One is to understand when to store information in a cache, so there won't be a need to invoke the back-end server with the same request, and the second is the implementation of policy enforcement point. Message Broker will have points at which it will call out to something called the Lightweight Directory Access Protocol, or LDAP server. This server decides if the user is authorized to carry out the requested action through checks such as password and username match and seeing which group the user belongs to. So for example, some groups of users will only be able to read the data, whereas some will be able to perform all of the create, read, update and delete features. This information is then fed back to Message Broker, which then carries out the decision that the LDAP server made. Now we will show you graphically how all of this fits together. We have a mobile phone. Within that phone there is the application, of which some of it will run on the Worklight server. It is here that the adapter exists and exposes the procedures to the app as a utility that the user can interact with. Now click Create New Instance, give it a name and click OK. We can now see that the pattern has generated the basis for our application and adapter. The ticks represent where sensible defaults are in place and that part of the pattern is complete. The cross, however, shows us that there is something we need to input. As you can see, all we need to do is name the resource we will be accessing, which in this example we will call Customer, because we are looking to access customer information. The information on the right details what that part of the pattern is and what it does. Now, if we go back to the Service Configuration tab where we named our resource, we will then want to tick Cache Results and then click Generate towards the bottom of the screen. However, although these things are now generated, we still need to add customization for the application and implement the create, read, update and delete procedures. We do this by clicking Contact Book _ Procedure Handlers, Subflows and double click on Read Subflow. At the moment, the example that is provided is more of an illustration, so we want to delete the middle part of the application and shift the two nodes to the right. This will give us some space to add something real into. Next, we navigate to the left of this panel, find WebSphere Adapters, and within this, the SAP Request node. We drag and drop this in between the input and output, and rename this to Read Customer, because the data we are accessing is called Customer, and read is the procedure that we want to invoke. When the user tries to read Customer, this sends a request to SAP, which will then call up to the Business Application Programming Interface, or BAPI, which is a function that SAP provides in order to get access to the data. Double-click on the node, and then click Import Create New, where we will begin to create our own adapter. We will be creating an SAP adapter, so click Next on this page, and the same on the following page. As you can see, there was a need to find 3 files. These are the SAP client files. You will need to contact your SAP administrator for these files, as well as for the connection details for how to connect to SAP, and to find out which BAPIs you will need to be invoking. The page we are on now is where you will write in your connection details as given to you by your SAP administrator. This is the SAP server that we have at Hursley. Make sure BAPI is selected and click Next. Now we can add a filter to the BAPI search results. Click the filter button at the top left and type in BAPI _ customer _ . This will then give us BAPIs that are related to this customer pattern, with the star representing a wildcard, giving us about different kinds of BAPIs that we can choose from. Now we see a list of BAPIs that match. We will now select Create from Data 1. This is so that you could enter customer details into your contact book on your mobile, and then the app would create an entry from your contact book into the customer database. Next, click the arrow to get some choices. However, we will stick with the sensible defaults that are already in place, so click OK. Back on this page, we follow the same procedure for Get Detail To, which allows us to get information from the database and into our contacts book on the mobile device. Now we click Next and Next again, choosing Synchronous because we will be working in real time. We are now asked to enter the SAP password. Once your password has been entered, click Next. The tool now has all the information it needs to create the adapter that gives us access to SAP. We create the adapter in the library because the library will remain constant even if we regenerate the pattern. So click on the drop-down menu and select Contact Book _ Procedure Handlers. We simply need to call the pattern something now, i.e. Customer BAPI. We will also want to untick Apply Working Filter as it will restrict the view, and then click Finish. Now click the adapter we have just created and click OK. Finally, we will check in the Properties tab at the bottom of the page that the default setting is Get Detail, as this is the read procedure. In summary, we have now created the pattern as well as creating a new adapter. We have also configured a node with the new adapter. In the next video, we will expand on this, exploring further into what Message Broker adds to this process, as well as developing the application itself.